This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, hope you all had a nice day. So welcome to lesson 3. So before we start today's session, let's have a quick recap of last class. So yesterday we learned while loops, infinite while loops, and we explored conditional statements, if elif and else, and how to code them. And then we saw break keyword, how to use it for infinite and finite loops. So today we will start with the functions concept, which is a very important concept of any programming language. So we'll see how to create functions, user-defined functions in using Python, and then we will see the difference between global and local variables. And today we are going to introduce data structures. We are going to talk about list concept in Python. So I've already shared the link with you. So I'll quickly share my screen.
So today it's only about the lists, Meenakshi?
Today the concept starts with functions. We are going to see how to create functions using Python programming language. And then we have this global keyword, like we have to discuss what is global variable. So we already saw what is a variable, but when we create functions, we have to talk about global variable and local variable. Then we have the concept of module, like we have to import a lot of modules throughout this course. Like every day we keep importing modules. So what is a module, how to import them? We are going to have a little overview about that. And then we'll start with the data structure, like list. So in real life, what is a list? Accordingly, like in Python also, like similarly. So we are going to see how to create list and what are the different features of list.
I got a quick question there.
Yeah.
Yesterday I did miss out, for a few minutes as I had a work call, but
Okay.
I see, there are like for loops and Python identifiers as well. Were they covered or?
Python identifiers are nothing but naming the variables, like even naming the variables,
Oh,
naming the modules and all. That's called as Python identifiers. And we did cover while loops yesterday, but we didn't touch for loops. So
yeah.
today we are going to see the for loops. Like as activity 7, we'll do the for loops. So
Okay.
yeah, then we'll again discuss a difference between while loop and for loop again. So don't worry.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So let's start with function. So to simplify function is a block of organized reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. If someone asks you what is a function, it's a block of organized reusable code. So functions can be reused. So reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. So in layman language, if we have to explain functions in a general language, we can say function is like a machine which takes some input and gives some output. So input is not required always, but function is like a device or a machine which can take some input and give some output. So we can take any general example on life too. For example, we have this ATM machine. So ATM machine is like a function which takes our debit card and our PIN numbers as input and returns the cash or receipt as an output. So every machine has its own task. If you have a mixer grinder, the task of a mixer grinder is to create some paste or grind something related to the input we give to it. But we can reuse the machines, right? ATM machine is not used only for once. We can reuse it. So in coding language, like for example, we have to do the addition part. So we create variables like a equal to something, b equal to something, a plus b. So if you have to do the addition and again and again, we have to create those codes again and again. To avoid repetition of a code, we can create a function where we can reuse it. So we can create an addition function where you can give different inputs each time to get different outputs. So we already started using functions of Python. Like we used ready-made functions like print function, input function, type function. All those are also functions, but ready-made, or you can call them inbuilt functions, which are created by the Python author. We don't have to see the code of it, but we already use this ready-made functions, right? So print functions task is to take input and print it as the output. Input function take input from the user and then print it. So each function has its own task. So now we are going to see how to create a user-defined function. So for all the activities, we don't have ready-made functions. So there are a lot of ready-made functions which we can directly use in Python. But if we have to create our own function according to the need or purpose, like according to the uh, like what task at our hand, if there is no inbuilt function, if we have to create a user defined function, how to create it, we are going to see it in the activity 1. So main use case of functions is functions help in reducing code repetition, and it's a way of organizing the code. It improves readability and reusability. So we already saw the inbuilt functions like print, type function, etc. So now we are going to create a user-defined function. So when we create a user-defined function in Python, we are going to use this def keyword. And after def, we just have to give a function name according to the task. We can name it. And inside the brackets, we are going to give the inputs. So this is the syntax, and we need the colon again. So yeah, inside this we can repeat like we can give the codes, like we will do the example of addition here. You will understand it better. And the function name must always begin with a lowercase letter. That's a convention. So let me just create a simple user defined function that takes two numbers as inputs and return their sum. Usually, like without function, what we used to do is we'll take like a equal to 6 or b equal to 5. If I just want to have a sum of it, I'll take one more variable. I'll write a plus b. If I just print c, what would be the output now? It's a simple addition of a plus b without using any function. If I just run this particular block of code, what would be the output?
11.
Yeah, 11, right? So the same thing, if I create with functions, each time I give different a and b, I'll get different results. So the keyword is def. I can name it like add numbers. So I'm going to give two inputs inside the brackets. I'm going to give two inputs. So I'll give the variable's name here. So colon is the syntax. If I press enter, automatically I have this indentation. And the task is to add the numbers. So c equal to a plus b. So this is the line of code for adding the numbers. Now in this user defined functions, we have one more keyword called return. So without return, you don't get the output. So what I'm expecting from this particular user defined function is this c. So I'll just write c. So I'm expecting the output to be addition numbers. So if I run this, so the function got created, but you don't see any output, right? So when we use this functions, we to use these functions, we have to call them. So we have to call them using the name of the function. Name of the function is add underscore num. Now I can give any numbers like 6, 5. If I just run this, so now it's 11. So I can reuse this. The main functionality of functions is to reuse them. So I can give any number. If I run this, you'll get the sum. So here, if I give one more input, 6, 7, 8. What do you think would be the output now?
Some undefined error,
Yeah, correct.
parameter.
Yes, correct. So I've given one extra parameter. So it was like expecting two positional arguments, but three were given. So we got an error. So we have to take care, like two inputs were has to be provided, but three were given. So
So, the return keyword, it's not, I guess, mandatory, right? Even if you take
if
it out
we
and you try to run the function, it should still get you the result.
yes, so if you want to create, there would be according to the task. If you don't want to have any output from that particular function, but it has to do some task is there, but you don't expect any output from there, we don't usually give return statement. So here we are going to create function which takes input but does not return any output. We'll see the difference, like how it works. So for example, I'm going to create the same addition function but without return. I'll just name it like same addition function, nothing new here. So result equal to a plus b, but I didn't give any return statement here. So if I call this particular add n function, I give addition here, inputs here. You see, like it added 6 plus 8 in the backend, but you don't see any return now because the
Oh, I
return
see.
statement is not there. So
Understood.
yeah, so let's see one more example with this.
But Meenakshi, the
Yeah.
return we are not storing anyway, right? So how come it is printing the return?
A return is a keyword. Like this is a syntax of functions in Python where def is a keyword to create the user-defined function, and without return statement, you won't get
Yeah,
any output from this particular function.
yeah. For example, in other languages, if you want to see the return, we use to store that in one variable and print that variable.
Okay, but here you don't have to do like that. You just write return AB, it will return it. Like I've
Okay.
just created one more function where same like addition A and B are the inputs, results equal to A is B. I'm returning A comma B. So now if I do the same like addition of 6 and 8, what would be the output for this?
600.
New 6 and 8, right? Correct. Because it's adding in the backend, but I'm not returning the result here. I'm returning A comma B. That's the reason it just returned the 6 and 8. If I would have returned only A, so you would have got only A here. So that's how the return statement works. Let's see with the print also. Like if you have print inside it. So we are going to have result. Instead of return, I just had a print statement. Usually print statement has to give us the print of the result, right? So if I just run this add underscore number and give out, what do you think would be the output now
70.
for this particular function? Add number A and B, result A plus B, but we have a print statement inside it, print result.
Mhm.
Can you
70.
get the output?
70.
Or maybe not. No, it won't.
Okay. But
Because
the task of the print function is to print something. So if I just run this, you are going to get the result printed here. But the funny part here is like print statement will display as output, but does not
Mhm.
return a value. You have to understand this. Like if this function is part of a bigger coding task where you printing is something different. Like
Yeah.
I'm printing
So,
it.
so if
You can
something is printing, you cannot use that later. If something is returning, you can use further in the program.
Yes. So here, correct, exactly. So print result, it's printing it. But if I'm saving the output inside one more variable called output and printing the output, you'll see that output is none. Since there is no return statement, so there is you can explore this functions concept with print statement. It's interesting because it's printing the result, but if you just use the output of this particular add number, you'll see that none is displayed. So return statement
Understood.
is required for returning the values, yeah. And function which does not take any input but returns output. So we, depending on the task, like we might write functions where input is not required, but we need some output from that particular function. We can do that by just having a return statement for this particular function, like no input, but we want to return Python. Each time we run it, we are going to get the result, like whatever it's written, what we want to return it from it. So yeah, any questions here? It's a simple user-defined function we have created, but we can use this small concept to create yeah complex tasks also. Like, but the syntax is this: like you have to use the def keyword. You give a name for the function. You have to give the inputs accordingly. Colon. Inside this, you need to write all the codes required for the particular task, and then we have the return statement where we return what we expect from that particular function. So this is the simple syntax for creating user-defined functions in Python. So is type user-defined function or ready-made function?
Ready-made.
Ready-made function, correct. So yeah. And now, any idea what are global variables and local variables?
Yeah, so local means, let's say you got that function definition add underscore n, right? Whatever that gets, whatever the values are underneath. I mean, if you don't expose them outside, those values are going to be, part of that. Whatever you will not be able to use those,
Okay.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
with the other whatever lines of code outside of that function. Um, I don't know. I
Okay.
just made a mess, but
Okay. Okay.
I think I have an idea.
Okay. Okay. No issues. But you all heard about global and
Yeah.
local variables, right? So global variables are you can like the variables declared outside the user-defined functions are called global variables. The variables which are declared inside the user-defined functions are called the local variables. So here, so we gave this a plus b. We didn't define any variables inside this. Let's take an example here. The main concept of this global variable is that if there are any variables which are outside the function, if you want to use them inside the user-defined function, we have to declare them as global actually. We have to add a keyword and write the variable names beside it so that that particular user-defined function knows like those are the global variables. So the main important concept of this global variables is that you can use them for displaying or you can use them for like okay, let me give directly an example here. So for example, like if we travel for a foreign country, we all need visas, right? So we need visa to travel to any foreign country from India. So there are more than 50 plus countries where visas are not required, so we can directly travel there. That doesn't mean like we can go there and work in that particular place. Then you need the work permit. So generally with us, we can travel to countries. There are 50 plus countries where visas are not required. You can go there, you can uh, roam there like a tourist. But if you want to go there, set up a business or you want to do some work, you need work permit, right? So here the global variables, they can go inside the user defined function. They can be like behave like a tourist. But if you want to modify that particular global variable inside the user defined function, then we need to give them the visa, which is the global keyword. Without that, it will throw error. So now just remember this visa work permit concept and we'll do example. It will get, you'll get more clarity over here. So see, there is one variable we have created before the user defined function. It's just the general syntax we have put in here. So this is the global variable. Inside the function you create variables, they become local variables. So you can directly print this global variable and local variables, so they can roam inside this function like a tourist. So you can access them, you can see like I am global, I am local is printed here. But if you want to do some modification inside this user defined function, then it will throw error. We'll do the same thing with addition here. So for example, I'm doing a simple add function which we have done before. Like this was the I'm returning result here. So It's a simple user-defined function which we have just created above without any local global variables. It will work fine. It's a simple which we have done above. Now for this, I want to add one global variable. I'll add a equal to 5, which is a global variable. And inside this function, I'm going to add one more variable, which is local variable. Till here, it's clear. Any questions with this? It's a simple function we have created. For that, I added one global variable before the user-defined function. Any variables which are defined outside the user-defined functions are called global variable. Any variables which are declared inside the user-defined functions are called local variable. So we have created global and local variable. So still if I run this, it will be 3 because we are just adding this particular inputs b plus c. So now what I'm going to do here is the same thing. If I just want to add b plus c plus d plus a, what do you think would be the output?
8.
8. So
Hang on for a second. B, C,
1 plus
that's
2, yeah.
5,
So
10. Hang
10.
on, yeah, 10.
So,
Yeah.
so you are able to access this. So even like with the same example without a, if I run this, then it would be like 2, 1, 2, it would be 5. Yeah. So now let me do one thing. I want to change the value of 5 to 7. A equal to a plus 2. If I run this,
7.
what would be the output? I just want to like, I modified a equal to 5 inside the user defined function.
So it's going to be, for the result, it's going to be 9. And then, but the A, if you
Yeah.
try to run
So
it, it'll,
cannot access
oh,
local variable a where it is not associated with a value. So like before, just for printing or just to access the same value, you are able to do it. But if you want to
yeah.
modify this global variable inside the local variable, it will throw error. So to fix this error, what we have to do is we have to just declare this a as global inside with the
Global.
keyword global. If you want to modify this global variable inside the function, you just have to declare them as global inside the function. Then you can modify them. It's like, it can be a tourist inside this particular user-defined function. But if you want to work on it, it needs a work visa, like it needs a permit, which is this. Without this, it will throw error. So this is the concept of global variable and local variable. Any confusion or any questions here with this global variable?
So we got that global keyword. If you were to work with the global
Yeah,
variable inside a function definition, right? But let's say if you
correct.
want to work on a local, would you be able to extract it out and use it? No, right?
Local, we can directly work inside without any,
Within that, yeah.
yeah, with it. So
So
again,
And
like if
and
you,
go ahead, sorry.
so can we say global A is equal to 5 in the beginning itself and then active and then change?
could you please repeat your question? Like I didn't understand.
In the beginning, you said A is equal to 5 global variable, right? So can
Huh.
we write A itself global?
Okay, you want to write something like,
Global A is equal to 5.
Then the variable names becomes global,
Yeah,
which you
then you
just
can
write.
modify global
So
A. Whatever you're writing there in the inside the function, you can mention outside the function. So can we use now?
like if I just write global A equal to 5, I think it will throw error. So invalid syntax it becomes. So maybe
No, only just global way and A is equal to 5.
uh,
Right, bro.
so
Okay.
yeah, it is working like this. Yeah, before that also you can declare them as global. Okay, and let me just comment this because yeah, now let's see. No, it will throw error because before I didn't commented this, we got the positive output, but you have to declare global inside this user defined function only to do any changes on this particular A. We have to declare them inside the user defined function. It didn't work. You cannot access local variable A where it is not associated with a value. So yeah, so you just have to remember this concept of going to a foreign country like a tourist, but if you want to work there, you need permit, which is this global keyword. Only then it will work. But just for accessing, printing, we don't have to without declaring them as global also it would work. But for any modification, you have to declare it. So the same example we have here. So I'm returning sum and A. That's the reason like the modified A value from 5 to 7, we see the output here. So any more questions or is it clear?
No, thank you.
Okay. Now I'll give you a minute. Would you like to try this activity where you can create a function that acts as a simple calculator? It should actually take the three arguments, that is like two numbers and an operation if you want to add that or subtract that and return the result. So first think of what are the different concepts you can use for creating a simple calculator where like if you call the function like calculator and give two numbers and give the symbol, accordingly you have to get the output. If you give 8 comma 9 and minus, then the answer should be minus 1. 2 comma 3 plus, then the output should be 5. So you can take a minute and try this activity. So what would be the different concepts you are going to use here? From 2.5 classes we have learned about loops, conditional statements, print function. Now just now we learned about creating user defined functions. So obviously we're going to create a function, so we have to use the def keyword and create a function. Other than that, what would be the concept you are going to use to create a calculator, simple calculator? There are only two options, like either you have to use loops or conditional statements. Which one you are going to use?
Yeah, conditional, I guess, right?
Correct, conditional, yeah. So you can take a minute and try. You can try on your collab. Then I'll also start typing here. Don't look at this. Just try for yourself and see like where you are getting stuck or you are able to do it. Okay, tell me if you are done with it. Do you have any questions, Atish, here?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much writing the same.
Okay, then great.
Yeah.
So yeah, then it's good. Like you got the clarity over conditional statements and the
Yeah.
combination with user-defined functions.
Yeah.
So this is a very simple program we have created, but yeah, with complicated tasks also, the simple strategy is to break them into smaller chunks and work on it. Just tell me if you're done, then we'll just do this activity and go for the next activity.
I'm just wondering, like, what did I
Yeah.
miss here? Can I just put it on the chat? Like, where did I go wrong?
Okay, you can put it in the chat or you
I know
can
it's
put the link
basic,
of.
but yeah, that's what I had. So it says syntax expected. What am I missing?
Okay, see,
So,
then subtraction result. So you have given result. So I was actually returning. Okay, you will return the result in the end. Okay, you have to return
oh,
it, right? You have written result. So
uh,
then
how am I
again
supposed
in the
to?
next line you have to return like you have to add one more line like return that particular result variable. So instead of that, I've directly used the result. Sorry, return here. You just wrote like result equal to
Oh, oh,
plus
I see. I
two
should have
plus
just
w.
returned it.
Yeah,
I didn't.
yeah. Then you have to return the result here.
I see. So I want to try that one more time. And I was still getting that syntax error around
Okay, you're getting
expected.
syntax error because this result and return has to be inside this if block. If you are writing it, there should be this 4 indentation.
Um,
Then you come out of that uh, if block, then you write the elif, the statement whichever you are subtracting, it has to be inside the elif block with indentation. And all of this is inside this uh, user defined function block where we have again this 4 indentation before it.
actually, I just what I did was in that when I was calling that function, I did not for that operation, right? I basically had
Okay, you
for
didn't give the
operator.
quotations.
Yeah, I didn't give
Yeah,
the codes. Yeah, I think that's what.
yeah, yeah.
It's,
Okay, yeah, then it will work.
yeah,
So you
it's
can, you have done the simple calculator now. So you can take complex task and keep practicing. Like we are doing the simpler things here. So you can use the same concept, take some examples like, and do practice. Then you'll get the yeah. So the syntax everything is simple. Based on the task, we have to use our logical skills there. So importing a module. Any idea what is a module?
a collection of predefined or
Collection of
functions.
functions, right? So till
Yeah.
now, like we have used like print function, input function, but we didn't imported any module before using those functions. But in Python, there are a lot of special functions. To use them, we have to import the module where this function is like before using the special functions, we have to first import the module. Then we have a syntax like module name dot function name to use that particular function in the code. So it's like giving the surname for the functions. Print input functions. There was no surname. You can directly use print function everywhere, but we are now going to use one one such special function which requires importing a module. So we're going to use a function called randint function, which will the task of that randint function is that if you give a range of values, it will randomly generate different values each time you run it. So we are going to create a simple die role where you have numbers from 1 to 6. We'll generate it using Python now. So the main purpose is like, I always love giving this example of library. Like you go to a library, if it is not organized, if you have to find a book, we'll get, if you're lucky, maybe in the starting row you get it. But if not, you try going to find a book in an unorganized library, it would be very difficult. The same way, there are a lot of functions. So in the backend, lot of functions are actually organized like in shelves. They are organized inside the module so that the execution time of codes will be faster because of the organization, like organizing in the backend. So some functions in Python cannot be used directly. To use such function, you first need to import a module in which that particular function exists and then use the required function. For all practical purposes, a module is a collection of some special functions which are used occasionally. Syntax is very simple. You have to write import and the module name. Again, you uh, don't have to remember all the module names, the functions names right away. With practice, all the important functions you'll get used to. And if it's like a new function names, we'll get it from the Google, but it's impossible to remember all the function names, the module names and all. But very important functions, you'll get used to that. So don't try to by heart anything. So for now, we are trying to generate a random number between 1 to 6 using this random function. So it will either return any number between 1 and 6. So it's like a simulation of a die roll. So we are going to first import a module called random. So random is the module where we have this function random. So first I imported random. So importing a module, we have to do it at least once for the whole collab sheet. So if you are yeah, so if you import it once, it's enough. You can use that any different function from that particular module without importing it again and again. We have to import a module just once before using its functions. We don't have to import it again and again. So right now, I'm going to generate a value. So to use this particular function, module name is random dot function name. So it's like surname and the full name, random. Now we have to give the range for this particular random function. So 1 and 6. So if I just run this, so each time I run it, I'm going to get different values. So it's like a simulation of the die roll. So from this particular task, what you have to understand is how to import a module, what is a module, and this is one particular example we have taken to just see how to write the syntax, like the module name dot the function name. That's it. Nothing else. You don't have to remember the function names, module names right away. Any questions here about importing a module with the statement
So,
here? Import.
No, yes.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Okay.
Yeah, so the difference between a module and a package is that multiple modules comprise a package, right?
Yeah. So sometimes
Okay.
like we interchange the words also. Like NumPy is a package library we say it. So then we call
Mhm.
it like NumPy module 2. So technically, yeah. So library has a lot of modules inside it. So, but sometimes we interchangeably use the words also, not to get confused with it. But yeah. So
Okay. So I
and
guess if you were to let's say, I mean, if you got like what random from some whatever package, right? Then when you want to use that whatever module,
we have to
or
write
call a
it. Yeah.
function, yeah, still need
So
to
it's yes,
give the
we'll get those
name of the
things
module
also
dot
soon. Yeah.
method. All right, got it.
Correct. Correct. So
Okay.
next, we are going to see the Python list. Very easy concept. So it's a before starting Python list, let's understand the concept of data structure. So what do you think data structure means? According to you, what is a data structure?
So data could be of different types, and you basically would want to structure that data for the machine to understand, I guess.
Okay, so you're giving it logical answer. So, but
Yes,
the thing is that variable, how many values we can store inside a variable? If you create a
a
variable, how
single
many
value.
values? Single value, right? You have a variable, we store only single value inside it. But
Mhm.
so data structures are used to store multiple values inside a single variable in a organized way such that the values can be easily accessed and modified. So it's like arrays concept. Arrays is also data structure. You would have heard about arrays before. So there are different type of data structures like list, tuples, sets, dictionaries, which are coming soon. But we'll start with a Python list. Normally, like if you go for a grocery, every day we use this list word on our daily life also, like making a list of things and all, where you create a list of different items. The same way, if you want to store multiple values inside a single variable, we need this concept of data structure. So this might be like, unexpectedly, this might be a question in interviews, like, just give a definition of data structure. So data structures are used to store multiple values inside a single variable. That's it. So Python list is a data structure which can contain more than one value at a time. So a value in a list, so if there are values inside a list, you can either refer them as item or an element. So usually by practice, I always call them items. So you can either call them items or elements. And to create a Python list, you have to use this square brackets. Each item in a Python list is separated by a comma. So key features are ordered, mutable, heterogeneous, dynamic. We are going to see this key features with examples. Ordered in the sense like elements in the list have a defined order. So if you write like one to, like if you have a list of groceries, so first item will be numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, so on. So it's ordered. Mutable list can be changed after their creation by adding, removing, or modifying elements. Heterogeneous, that means like you can have different data type of different items of different data types inside it. You can have numbers, strings, and all. So we'll take one example, different examples to explore these key features. So dynamic list can grow and shrink in size as needed. So we can break the list or we can extend the list, so on. So for now, let's see how to create a simple Python list. So if I just want to create a list with the same a variable, if I just give the square brackets, so I have 4 items inside the square brackets. So it's a list. Simple list gets created with this 2 lines of code. Square brackets, and you give all the items required inside it. That's it. If you check the type of a now, it would be a list. So you have the square brackets and give items inside it separated with comma. List gets created. So you can even create a grocery list where you have items like rice, wheat, milk, honey, fruits, etc. So since it's strings, I have given quotations to it. So you can see like a list with 5 values got created here. So you can create any list just with the square brackets. That's it. Any questions here? We are going to explore these features in the coming activities. For now, we just created a simple list.
We get all these different data, I guess, types or structures, right? Lists, tuples, sets,
Yeah,
dictionaries.
yeah.
Each of them, yeah, with the list, it's you try to remember, that's OMHD, right? Mnemonic, ordered, mutable, heterogeneous, and dynamic.
Yes,
So
yes, we
similarly,
have to.
how
Yes.
can we remember that for the others as well? How,
Like there's like little difference between each of them. Like with after you do a lot of uh, examples, you really don't
mm,
have to remember this. The first time you're seeing, maybe you have to remember Python list is
yeah.
ordered, mutable, heterogeneous, and dynamic. then tuple which is not mutable. So once we do it like maybe 10 classes, you get used to this. So
See.
without putting an effort, you know this. So
I
just
see.
don't, yeah, right away get overwhelmed with that, like what, how to remember and all. Let's keep on doing the activities. You'll get used to them. So
All right.
we just created a simple list right now. So you just have to remember that for creating a list, we need the square brackets. That's it. And what is a data structure? Data structure is something where we can store multiple values in a single variable. And if you check the type of it, it is a list. That's it. That's all you have to remember for now. And then in and not in keywords, as the name suggests, if you use in keyword, if an item exists in a list, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. If you have a list and you want to check like if that particular item is there inside the list or not, we can use in and not in keyword. If there are only like 5 items or 10 items, we can directly check if it's inside it or not. But there are lists of like 2000, like lakhs of items inside it. Then this type of keywords are required according to the task to check if that a particular item is inside the list or not. So rice in grocery list. Will it be true or false output?
True. Oh,
Sure.
actually, no.
No,
Yeah,
it's a
because
case false.
uppercase, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's case sensitive, so it's
Is
false.
sensitive. Right.
Yeah, if I write rice not in grocery list, since it's inside it, we got false. So in and not in keywords, just to check if that particular item is inside the list or not. So this is a simple activity. Then let's come to these features of list where we just spoke about this ordered, mutable, heterogeneous, and dynamic. Take different examples and do it. So before moving to activities, let us explore some basic features of Python list. Like list can store elements of same type or of different types. It's heterogeneous. You can count the number of items using count function. If you if the list is created and if you want to add extra item, you have to use the append function for the list. Then if you want to count like total how many number of items are there, then the len function. If you want to remove any particular item from the list, then there are two functions like remove and pop. We can also replace an existing item in a list with a new item. So there are many different features of Python list. Again, don't try to by heart anything. So we'll do activities. You'll by default you'll start remembering things. So first, let's give multiple data types and check if it like if I just want to create a list. So square brackets. So I want to just give different data types. First, let me just give a string like name. It's a string. I'll give number, random number. Then I'll give like a decimal floating point. Should I give quotations for 2.9? It's a float. Should I give quotations for it?
No.
No, yeah, correct. So for integer and decimal, no need of quotation. So now we have 4 different types of data types here: string, integer, float, and boolean. Let's see if we can print the list. Yeah, you got the value. So it just says like, it's heterogeneous. So there are 4 items here, right? If you want to just count like how many items are there inside this list, the syntax is simple. Like list name as list underscore one dot count. What would be the output? The syntax is list name dot count.
4.
And like I want to count a particular item, then I have to write it inside. Yeah,
Oh, I see.
2.9.
1.
So it's 1, right? So you have numbers like this 1, 2, so on. Like if you want to count like numbers is the list name dot. I'm counting how many 6 are there. I can just count it. If it's a string, then I have to give quotations, but I'm just counting the numbers here, no need of quotation. So if you would have had something like, then if I want to count like how many A's are there, then I have to give quotations. If I don't give quotations and run it, 0, because yeah, there's no A.
how can I get the whole count, like all the values within
We have a
the
function
list?
for it called len function. So
Length. Okay.
length,
That
yeah.
len.
So you can
Got it.
check len of list one, which had like 4 items. So to get the total number of uh, whole length, you have to use this len function. So this len function is same for tuple and all, like we are going to see it like the same functions.
Okay.
So 15. So append function is to add a new item to the list, and always append function will add a new item to the end of the list. Like I have orange, apple, banana, which is already existing list. I want to add mango to it. Then the syntax is list name dot append. Inside the append function, I have to mention like which value I want to add to this particular list. So you will have like one extra item got added to this particular fruits list, but always append function will add new item at the end of the list here. So this is one append function. This is important here, list indexing. So we said that like lists are ordered, right? So we have a order, like they got, like in schools we all have rule numbers. Likewise here for the list, once we create a list for all the items, they have numbers for it, but they does not start from 1, but the list indexing starts from 0. So the index which indicates the location of the element always starts with 0, not 1. We call it like 0 based indexing. So for example, we have one more list here, right? Indian languages list is created. So there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 languages are written inside this. So I can print the languages based on the index numbers also. So in the backend, it's ordered. So Hindi index number is 0, Bengali 1, 2, 3, so on till 9. So these are the index number of this particular list now. So I can call, like I can print this particular items in the output using the index number also. The syntax is name of the list, square brackets, you have to give the index number. For example, Indian underscore line. So if I want to print Telugu, what is the index number of Telugu now?
2.
2, right? So if I just write 2 here, it would print Telugu. So what is the index number of Kannada?
6.
6. If I just run it, Kannada. So only thing we have to remember here is list values are in ordered. So the starting index number is 0, and then the list then it goes on like 0, 1, 2, 3, so on, and you can retrieve an item from a list using this syntax here, list name square brackets, you give a number, and that particular item will be retrieved in the output. So we call it like 0 based indexing, and there is negative indexing also. Like if you have a long list, if you just want to get the last value, so
-1.
negative indexing, it's -1, 2, 3, so on till -10. It's like having two numbers, sorry, two index numbers. So positive indexing, you would have given 0, 1, 2, 3, so on till 9. Negative indexing, it starts from -1 to -10. So you can even retrieve the item using negative indexing. If I just type -3, what would be the output?
Malayalam.
Malayalam, right? I'm not sure why we got this. Yeah, yeah, Malayalam. So
Yeah.
using negative indexing also we can just retrieve the items. So we have positive zero based indexing and negative indexing both. So yeah, you can use negative indexings to get items from the list. So it will start from -1 for the last item, and then it will move for the -n, which is the total number of items. So if I do -1, you are going to get the last item, which is Punjabi. If you do -10, it would be Hindi. So we have seen zero-based indexing and positive indexing. Sorry, negative indexing. Any questions, sir?
For the list, right? I mean, you could append or drop and all that, or pop, right? But it's order, so it means would we be able to replace the index or whatever value that's already there on the list?
Yes, we can replace it. So we have that particular activity also, item replacement. So we can replace replace a particular value from the list. We are going to see it also.
Okay, well, next
So
time.
yeah. So let's do, what's the next activity? Okay, for loops. So the for loop is used to repeat. We'll do this one activity and we'll stop for today. So for loop is used to repeat or iterate a set of statements for a fixed number of times. Like we had while loop for repeating of codes, and again we have for loops. The difference is that for loop is a simple syntax. Like we should know the range before, like how many times we are repeating something. Then we can use the for loop easily. So like you can use the ready-made function range. You just have to give the range here 1,6. So if you want to print first 5 natural numbers using for loop, first we will use a ready-made function called range inside for loop, which generates consecutive natural numbers between two specific numbers. So the above code can be read as for every number in the range of 1 to 6 and except 6. Actually, when you use the range function, if you give the values 1,6, it will print from 1 to 5 only. The last number is not included for this range function. So these things are not defined by us. So these things are defined by the Python author. Like when he have created this range function, he have written code like this. Like when you give the 1 and 6, it will start from 1 and you'll get till 5. So range, start value, end value we have to prescribe here. So start value is actually optional. If you don't give the start value, by default the value will start from 0, not 1. End value is required, an integer which specifies at which position to stop. So for example, we have ranges like this 0 and 6. It will generate values from 0 to 5. If you write only 6, then also you'll get the same output 0 to 5 without start index. If you give only the end value, by default it will start from 0 itself. So from 1 to 11, you'll get values from 1 to 10. The last value is not included. But if you just write 11, then it will be from 0 to 10. So we'll do the simple for loop for now, like to generate 5 numbers, like for I in range 1, 6, print I. Then you will be getting the numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same thing using while loop. What we have done yesterday is, first we have initialized the I value as 1. Then we have written while, and we have written the condition I less than or equal to 5. Then print I. Then we have to again increment this. So you can either use the shortcut or write it this way, I equal to I plus 1. Then you got the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the same output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Using the while loop, you have to generate it like this. You have to give the condition. Then whatever you are printing, you have to write it here. The code which is looping, you have to write it here. Here directly we have used ready-made function range with for. So it was simple, just 2 lines. So that doesn't mean like, we can ignore the while loops, because the while loop is used when you want to repeat a block of code as long as the condition is true. It is useful when the number of iterations is not known beforehand. So some local condition was there. This is the simple conditions we are using. But in a particular bigger task, like bigger task of coding, you have to give a condition, and based on the condition that particular block of loop has to be run, then we have to go for the while loops. If you know, like what is the start and the end, then we'll go for loops. For loop is used for iterating over a sequence. Like for the list, if you want to print all the values or a tuple dictionary, we can use a for loop, or any iterable objects, or if you know the range beforehand, it is useful when the number of iterations known or can be determined by the size of the iterable. So if you know the range beforehand, we can use for loop. If you want to run a block of code based on a condition, we have to use the while loop. So this is a small difference between the syntax of while and for. So we can use the for loop and print all the values inside the list. Simply like, so we had this function len where you can get length directly. So here it's a small list. We know the length directly. We can directly write it like this for I in range 10 print. So what I have to print here is like for from this Indian language list, to retrieve first item I have to write Indian language 0. Then to retrieve second item, then I have to write 1 here. So this is the particular code we are repeating for printing all the values from the list, right? This repeated code we are writing inside the print function. Instead of 0, we give I here. So that first I value will be 0, then it will print Hindi. Then the I value become 1, it will print Bengali and so on.
So, quick question.
Yeah,
The range, it's like 0 to 9, right?
0 to
On the
9.
list. So, when we try to use a for loop, especially with the range, it's probably going to exclude the last value,
Yes,
isn't it? Yeah. So,
yes.
how can we get all of them when
Because
we?
luckily it's a zero based indexing, and here also for Hindi we are starting from 0, 1, and the Punjabi is 9.
I see.
So if the range is like from 0 to 10, that means like 0 to 9.
We'll capture all.
So it will be
Right.
like, yeah, 0 to 1, 2, 3, so
Got
on
it.
till 9. Yeah, that's the reason. So I'll stop it here for today, but take this activity as homework where using negative indexing, try to use the for loop and print them. And you can also try the activity of retrieving all the items from the Indian language list in the reverse order using the negative indexing or zero based indexing, whatever logic you can use it. So now you know, like we have negative indexing also, right? -1, -2. You just have to change the range values and you just have to change something here. You can think of this logic. So do two activities. One is like printing the same Hindi, Bengali, Telugu, but not like zero indexing method, negative indexing, like use -1, -2, and so on, print the same output. And the next activity is try to print the values in the reverse order. Think of some logic for the range and try to print this in the reverse order. So you can do these two activities. If you are still interested, these are the very simple activities. We'll quickly cover tomorrow also what is list slicing, how to slice the list and all. You have the whole explanation here. So you can, you have the activity blocks here. You can just try, if you have time, writing the code and check if you are able to do it from your end. Like we have few examples. So everything is clearly written as a text. You can try those next coming activities. We'll do it tomorrow anyways. Any questions before we leave? And yeah, your any questions from today's class first?
No, not
Yeah.
for me.
So
Okay,
is Saturday a working day? Meenakshi?
Saturday, Sunday is a holiday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tomorrow is
So
work.
tomorrow we have it. Tomorrow is Friday, right?
Ah, okay. I thought it's holy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow is Friday, so we have it working here. So today we'll stop it here. So see you tomorrow with more activities.
Yeah.
So if you don't have questions, you can drop off. Good night.
Yeah.
And
I got a quick question. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, yeah. Was asking about the roles and all that, right?
Yes, yes, we will discuss that.
Yeah, yeah, and also, there are like so many models, or like how to put it. There is within supervised learning, or like unsupervised, the deep learning, reinforcement. There's a lot of stuff going on, right? They talk about Gen
Yeah,
AI, and also it's like it's all over the place. Can you help me, like? understand, where each one fits and what we're trying to do, and what sort of a roles you could actually look for.
Yes.
Can you help me with that,
Like
please?
that, yeah. So actually, like there are not like thousands of models actually. But if you come for the machine learning models, it's less than 50.
Hmm. Okay.
So like coming to the coding part of these models, they're very simple. Like there are like import 5 to 6 lines of code. You can take it from the internet and paste it. So the same
Hmm.
kind of code we repeated that fit function for training. Then to get the output, 2 3 different lines of code. Coding part is like less than 10 lines of code for getting the accuracy of the model and all. So it was easy.
Hmm.
But the main important part is for these models to understand how the model works in the backend. So for the
I see.
supervised machine learning, we have the data. For example, you have heart disease data set where you have different cholesterol values of a patient and his particular details like gender, age, and so on. And you have a column which says like it's a old patient's data where it's already labeled based on the details, based on the cholesterol values and different parameters, if that particular patient has a heart disease or not. So using that particular data set, you train a particular model using that model uses mathematical logics behind it. What we expect from that particular machine learning model is that if you give a new patient's data with similar uh, gender, age, and similar cholesterol values, we expect the model to predict if that particular patient has heart disease or not. So
Hmm.
based on the old data, we expect the model to predict the new values for us. So
Hmm.
it's already happening, right? So you have like there are multiple models. So you can use different models for prediction of that particular heart disease for a patient. But with practice, you'll know like which model will work better in that particular data set. When you
I
use
see.
multiple machine learning models with different data sets, at first you don't know anything, but with experience, you will come to know like this type of data, this particular machine learning model works better because you know the math behind it, how it works.
Hmm.
So to fine tune a model, maybe the model is very bad model. It's predicting every patient has heart disease. We don't require such models, right? Then you have to understand what is wrong with the model. Maybe the data is not correct. Maybe it's not correctly learning from the data, or the model. We have to fine tune those models. Like if the predictions are not accurate, so maybe it's all like trial and error going on. Like when you have a data set, you keep working when you know how different machine learning model works. Then
Hmm.
it's like trial and error. With experience, your trial and error process gets easier. That's it. Starting, you don't know which model working. You don't know data set. Like you'll fine tune the data set. The model gives a bad uh, accuracy and all. It's predicting every patient has a heart disease, which is not true. Then you have to think of like how to improve the model, how to make the model learn it better. There comes all the mathematics then, like to understand what is going wrong in it. So we have to know how a machine learning model works.
I see.
So deep learning can also, if there is this heart disease prediction only, but deep learning models can also sometimes do the same thing what machine learning model can predict. But deep learning models are complex, and if the machine learning model fails to, then we go for deep learning model, because if a company is using these models, deep learning models are expensive.
Hmm.
So if it can be solved using a machine learning model, they don't go for deep learning models.
Okay.
So they just try with machine learning model and solve that particular issue, or use those machine learning models. If that is not possible with machine learning models, then they go for deep learning models, which are used like complex neural networks, where it's complicated when it's able to solve problems quickly, or if it's adding more value to it. It's expensive for a company to bear. So they'll
I
see if
see.
it's required, only then they go for it. Again, with machine learning models, it's all tabular data. It can uh, solve the issue. Like if you have a tabular data, if it's like I've just given this example of heart disease, right, where you have different tables, like where you have different columns and rows, where you have their heart rate and all different values, table kind of data. Then we go for machine learning model. Usually with deep learning, it's like images, audio, video, like where it's not tabular data, we go for deep learning models.
Unstructured data. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So then
Eh,
now it's coming generative AI, which is like content creation, right? Which is creating new content. So they are
mhm.
using LLM models behind it. So then comes a different frameworks like LLM, LangChain, and all. So there, these are like tools like which we have to learn. Like if it's a LangChain, if they have different tools, like what is happening there. So generative AI, you cannot directly learn generative AI. It's like you can learn the tools maybe. Like we already using the ChatGPT, right? How to
Mhm.
use ChatGPT better, you can learn it. There are hundreds of tools which have come out where a
Yeah.
lot of automation can be done. Those tools, it's a different. If you are already working and if you want to use AI tools to make your work more productive, you can
Mhm.
start learning that. Also there are different career where you can add value if you are doing only presentations, but you can learn a tool where it will help you with your presentation stuff. Such
I
there
see.
you don't, yeah, you can learn generative AI tools without any math and all, how to use them. Like every day, a lot of tools are coming up. You can, that's a different field that will also
Mhm.
add value to your career. So again,
Mhm.
to understand how this generative AI works, how this LLM models works, how this uh, all this generative AI stuff is working, you need to know from the basic. You need a Python programming language. Then you need to understand how the data is. Like if you have a raw data, like there will be different. Like if someone is entering date, then they might have entered like month, day, and year. Someone
Mhm.
might have entered like day, month, and year. So you have to do all that data preparations, cleaning. You have to process the data, and then you have to yeah, use it for the model, right? So I got deviated, I guess. Yeah, so
No, that's fine. No, no, I got it. No, this is good info, right? So I'm just trying to like look for some sort of like a flow diagram, right? Or
you want
you know,
to diagram? Just a second. I'll
like
stop the
like
recording.
no, no
To
worries. Yeah,
you
thank
now.
you.